So I have to go back and trim it. So I never know when I'm actually live.
The content on this meeting is being sent to a third party. Okay.
There you go. What's up? Zack Childress out of Huntsville, Alabama. I'm super honored. I'm honored to know you. You've been a really good friend of mine for a long time, and now I need to go. This is hilarious. How do I mute this? I need to mute this. There we go.
You mute me?
No, I'm muting my YouTube. It's coming through my ears, but it's okay. I'm going to trim all this out so when people watch
I'm like,
this,
don't mute me, man. I got so much to say.
no, all good, man. Zack Childress, Huntsville, Alabama. Known you for quite a while now. I've definitely known of you longer than I've known you, and I'm glad to know you because you do so many great things for the community, for the state of Alabama, and obviously for the Huntsville community where you are. But today, Zach's going to talk to everybody about how to really kind of how to get started in real estate, to be honest, which I think
Yeah.
is it's a great topic because I get so many people asking me, where should I start? How should I start? And there's so many different aspects to real estate that you could literally go in any direction. But I think with Zach with his is it the four pillars? Is that what you call it?
It is. It's called Four Pillars to Success in Real Estate. To your point, most people just don't know where to start, and they typically start in the end versus the beginning because they're more focused on what investing strategy they want to do instead of focusing on what's the specialized knowledge they need to build the core, and then you can plug in any investing strategy you want after that.
Yeah. So Zach, I'm gonna let you take it away here. I'm gonna obviously be on the line, but I'm gonna mute myself and just be a listener and be a student. And you can never, Joe McCall said this many years ago when I used to follow him is and be brilliant at the basics. And you can
Mhm.
never get the basics too much. It's always good refresher, even if you're watching this and you've never or maybe you've never done a deal. Maybe you've done a few deals. Maybe you're already a professional real estate investor. I still think it's good to kind of constantly work on the fundamentals, constantly get the fundamentals, especially from possibly a unique approach. So, Zach, I'm going to shut up and let you take it away, man. I appreciate you doing this.
I'm gonna share my screen if I can get permission to do that, and then I'll just bring up a little PowerPoint and help people kind of follow along. So, all right, let's see here. Let's see. Let's see what we got going here. Um, I don't know if I'm doing this right, but you tell me. Are you able to see my screen? It's good. Okay. Well, awesome. Well, listen, my name's Zack Childress. Yes, I am the president of the Madison County Real Estate Investors Association up here in what we call the Tri-Counties, Madison County, Limestone County, and Morgan County. We kind of all, work in those counties together. But, one of the things I'm super proud of, like Brian said, is we do a ton for our community here, our local community. We're actually the largest association in Northern Alabama and became the largest investment club in the state of Alabama about 2 years ago. So that was a pretty awesome thing. But I think it has everything to do with understanding who's seeking information and how we deliver that information. And it's not like, oh, let's go buy Lambos and private jets and make $1 million. No, I've been doing this a long, long time, and I've been coaching probably almost 2 decades of my tenure in this business, and you learn something through that. And it's not, hey, here's what I want to teach you, but it's, hey, what does a student or an investor need to know to be able to move to the next stages of their business? So that's really my focus today with you guys, is to kind of help you see that and what that looks like. That link on there is something you might want to write down. I'll give it to you a little bit later too. But everything I'm teaching today, put it all online for you so you can get it for free. You can download it. There's an ebook with it. There's video modules with it just to kind of help you kind of move through this process. For those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Zack Childress. I have been a local investor for over 23 years. I've done everything from, you name it, wholesaling, creative financing, sub-twos, land installment, wraps. I mean, all of it above. I do rehabs. I do light industrial warehouse, apartments, commercial. I'm a lender. I've spoken all over this amazing country. I mentor and coach. But more importantly, while a lot of you are getting started, I did it because I wanted more freedom, more time with my kids to travel the world. And boy, has real estate done that for me. So my thing is if you're watching this, I would love for you to get a better idea. Yes, Brian.
Let me just jump in real quick. You got this orange thing on your screen. Do you see that? This, there you go. Thank you.
Oh, is it not giving you what I'm looking at, or is it giving you the side box?
I got the side box. I don't have
Interesting.
the full screen.
Well, let me redo that.
I
You
didn't
got
mean
to
to
call me
interrupt you.
out on my
Sorry.
thing. How about now? And I got little notes going. You got to call me out on that. How about I got words going across the bottom of the screen as I'm talking.
Got subtitles. It's great. No problem.
So my biggest thing is I want you guys, if you're ever up here, be part of our community. That's my biggest push with you guys as you're in Birmingham or Montgomery or you're close up to Huntsville. Come check us out. You can go to our mcriameetings.com and you can see what we're all about. We're a great community. We're always constantly doing things with our community, and from parties to bus tours, you name it. We have coffee meetings, and it's 90% of it is just show up and be part of what we do. So we stand for three words. And these words, if you're ever around me, you will hear me say it over and over and over again: connect, learn, and grow. And that is what you need to find as the core of your journey into real estate. And connect is to really get clear that this business is a team sport. It's not an I sport. It is about making connections, networking, shaking hands, getting to know people. And learn is really for you to say, look, I know I need specialized knowledge and I've got to dig in and I got to figure out like what's right for me. Like what is right for me? Wholesaling may not be right for you. Rehabbing may not be right for you, but landlording might be your thing. And once you identify that through learning, whether it's going to a monthly meeting at Brian's location, or if you're up here on the first Thursday of the month, coming to one of our meetings, you start to pick up the concept of what sparks your interest. That's when it's time to grow. That's when it's time to say, okay, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to dig in and I'm going to learn everything I can about this. And so this is why we stand for Connect, Learn, and Grow. There again, hit our meetup page, join us. We put all of our events on there, everything we've got's on there. You can see the entire year. We put a whole year worth of meetings on there so you can see what we've got coming out. So with that said, let me talk to you about what these four pillars are all about. And then I'm going to break each one of these down for you. I'll probably spend about 20 minutes or so here with you on these. But over the years, I have really gotten a great understanding of what makes someone successful out the gate. It's not let's go learn wholesaling. It's not let's go learn lease options. That's irrelevant, actually. And you'll notice in these four pillars, the investing strategies are at the end. And the reason that is because real estate is a business. It is a business to the core. And if you do not take the time and slow down and get hyper focused on the first three pillars, it won't matter what strategy you do. You'll still be behind, you'll still have anxiety, you'll still be pressured, you'll have FOMO, you won't do a deal because the risk is too high or you don't know how to mitigate the risk. So all these things are what prevent people from actually running out the gate and doing the deals. But if you'll just slow down a little bit, focus on the first three pillars, what happens is now you've got your confidence. You know where the money's coming from. You understand the business. You understand the markets. You've got all the principles of what this business requires of you so that now no matter what investing strategy you plug in, it's all going to be easy at that point. And so I encourage you, if you're the type that's been on YouTube University and you've gotten partial information, and you're like, well, I'm just going to run out and look for deals, and you didn't start working on the first three pillars, you're at the highest chance you'll ever be of two things. Number one, not ever doing anything, and number two, making a risk that could cost you a lot of money. And that's because you didn't slow down long enough to actually build the foundation of the business and the concepts and the frameworks and the principles of how to make this business work. And from there, you move into investing strategies. So let's break down this first pillar. Now, I'm going to tell you firsthand, even when I coach a student one-on-one, we don't do anything else. It doesn't matter. I do not focus on anything else with them until they have completed the foundational work that needs to be done. And the foundational work is absolutely the key to building confidence in the process of you building this business. When I've surveyed, well, we survey our community all the time. And one of the biggest things that come up is fear. Well, I don't know if it's a good deal. I don't know if it's a bad deal. I don't know where the money's coming from. I don't know. I've got this one deal and I've passed on it because I didn't know. All of that says to me that they've never finished out their foundation because let's be honest, we live in a world or a society that makes it look cool that when you're first starting out, just go look at houses. Just go look at houses. Well, the problem with that is okay, you go look at it, but now what you going to do with it? How do you know if it's a good deal or not? Where's the money coming from? Who's going to be your team on it? Is it in the right market? Is it a rehab market? Is it a rental market? You just don't know when you're first starting out. And so it always lets me realize that they never stopped and focused on their foundation. And so let's talk about the pillar number one, your foundation. So there's really four key elements inside of this, maybe five, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. But the primary elements or the frameworks inside the foundation, and just to help you understand, my average student that I work with one-on-one, it takes them about 30 days to get through this foundation. Because this foundation, when we say you got to build your power team, it's not what you think. It's not, oh, I've got an agent, or oh, I've got a contractor, oh, I know a property. No, the list that we put out, that they have to fill in has 43 vendors on there, and they have to have 5 to 10 contacts per vendor. So it's a massive power team because people move on. Sometimes they're not the right pricing, but there's more concepts to understanding building your power team. It's the power of choice. I need not only the choice to be able to know who does what and who does what where and when, but I need to understand who's got what pricing and how they fit into my deal. But more importantly, where most people overlook the power team development is a simple strategy we call the pivot. And if you build your power team correctly, it's also known as an awareness campaign that now, if you had 10 people under each one of those vendors, you got close to 500 people that you've just made aware that you're in the real estate business, which does something. It starts to create lead flow. And so it's a free organic method that just starts people right out the gate in the first 30 days getting opportunities. Power team is crucial. And if you think you've got a power team, um, I'd probably argue with that just because I would say, well, how many do you have of these 43? And if you can't give me 5 to 10, I would tell you to go back and start building it even deeper. The other side of it is funding. So we don't move forward until we have the funding together. Now, there's four key funding frameworks you have to understand about this business. Number one is traditional funders, and these are all the local banks out there that do the same loans, 90% of purchase, 100% of rehab and draws. They do rehab loans, they do rental loans, but you got to qualify. Now, it is less cost to do the loan, but you got to qualify. That's the primary. Secondary is we got to start building asset-based lenders, and not just one asset-based lender, not just a local asset-based lender, but national ones, and 5 to 10 of them, because they all have different requirements. And not just that, they also have restrictions. And so you might jump out the gate and become a lead machine. And now you've got one rehab going, and this asset-based lender had good terms and they're funding that deal. Now you get another one. Well, because you're new, that asset-based lender is going to look at you and say, well, let's finish this one first. Well, now you just bottlenecked yourself and you just lost $50,000. And so we have to build that foundation of asset lenders deep also. Number three is you got to have bridge lenders. And most people overlook this. I'm a bridge lender in my local market because this is the missing key to funding. You guys have seen it. You've watched it. You've seen reels on it, videos on it. Oh, 100%. You can do real estate with 100% of none of your own money. You can do real estate with 100% of none of your own money. And then you get out there because you get excited about this and you go to a lender and they're like, oh, you got to put 10% down. Oh, you got to put 20% down. Well, then you're like, well, how do I pull this off? Well, this is what we call moving money to make money, and we use what's called pairing of lenders. We take an asset lender and we take a bridge lender. The bridge lenders fall into what's called second lien position, and they understand that, and they'll fund your down payment. They'll fund the construction inside that second lien position. So when you got that primary lender who funds the purchase, and you got that secondary bridge lender that funds the down payment, yes, you can achieve 100% financing on these deals this way. And so that's number three. And then number four is starting to understand how to build out your private money program so that we can start to establish endless amounts of capital that won't restrict us as we move into the markets. So inside of foundation two is understanding what we call market research, or market segmentation is what we teach on. And so market segmentation is by far one of the greatest skills you'll ever learn to mitigate risk. We don't buy a deal because it's profitable. We buy a deal because it's profitable and it's in the right market to be profitable, right? So when we analyze a deal and it says we're going to make $40,000, well, that's what the sheet says. But what's the realistic aspect that that 40,000 is going to get in my pocket? Well, that requires market research and market segmentation so that I can determine is this opportunity the right opportunity in this market with the least amount of risk and the fastest amount of turnaround. Now, understanding that market segmentation and that market research also tells us what investing strategy we need to deploy there, where it may not be rehabbing. I may need to wholesale that contract. Or it may be that it's not wholesaling and I want to rehab it because it's a great segment to do that in. Or maybe I just go in with a completely different strategy because you're not going to rehab because you can't get prices low enough, but maybe it's a novation or maybe it's a terms deal. Well, all that market research, when we build out what's called a zip code matrix, it literally tells us which zip codes have the best strategies to deploy in. And so this is part of that foundation, and then obviously putting all your systems and tools together. Now you can see just this little short 5 minutes I spent here, this is where most people mess up. They don't slow down enough to put this together because it's not exciting. It's just not. It's not the, oh, I'm going to go look at a house and it smells like money. No, this is the core. This is the foundation of the business you're about to build. And if you will do this, everything else becomes easy. Because now you know who's on your team, you know your money, you understand your markets, your segments, you know what's the least amount of risk in the market, you've got your tools and your systems in place, now you're ready to move. That's like moving out of ninth grade and now moving into 10th grade, right? And so which is why we now say before we even get into prospecting, we've got to lay the foundation. And so prospecting to contracts is pillar number two. This is where we really start to understand what's known as the lead intake process. And so let's talk about that. So there's 6 key elements to pillar number 2, or frameworks that we have to learn. Number 1 is getting clear on the lead intake process. Number 2, marketing, or what we call the pinwheel marketing. Number 3 is the communication stage, the research stage, the negotiation stage, and the converting stage. This all falls under pillar number 2, or known as lead intake process. Now, here's what I'll tell you, and if you were my own student, I'd tell you the same thing. We never leave pillar 2. We never leave it. No matter how long you're in real estate, you will live in pillar number 2. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, you will live in this, and you just get better and better and better at mastering the skill sets, because here's why. Each one of these have their own frameworks. and I'll show you the lead intake one in just a minute. But like marketing, it has its own frameworks. You have free leads, you have outbound, you have inbound, and each lead source has its own frameworks on how you process them. Communication has a 5-step framework to it. Research and analyze has a framework to it. Negotiations has a 5-step framework to it. Converting has a 9-step framework to it. So what we've done, or I would say what I figured out over the years, was that real estate is a very how do I say this? Real estate is a very duplicatable process. It really is. It's just learning the frameworks and then repeating those frameworks over and over and over and over again. And when you've got 23 years, you start to catch on to all these frameworks because you're like, well, I'm just doing the same thing over and over. Now, where the joy or the excitement or the creativity of real estate comes in is when you get into now I'm negotiating the deal, I'm structuring it. What's the best way to angle this deal? How do I make this into a deal? Is the seller motivated? What's the seller like? All of that is unique, but the core of real estate is all duplicatable frameworks, and you just have to slow down enough to learn these processes. And this is why I think our students move so fast. Once we slow them down a little bit, we teach them these frameworks and make them do these frameworks, well, now they accelerate because there is no confusion, there is no fear, there is no doubt, there is no I don't know, there is none of this because they've spent the time on the frameworks, which I will say, I think that's the missing piece to why most people don't have success as fast as they should, is they only are taught, go look at a house and make an offer. Well, yeah, that's great, but that's not the core of the business. You want to build a business with understanding the framework. So no matter if I'm looking at a house or a commercial property or a mobile home or land or creative financing, all these frameworks comply with whatever strategy we're going to go after. So let me share you the lead intake. So lead intake works like this. It's market segmentation, zip code matrix, marketing, communication, research, analyze, negotiate, and convert. You'll notice that negotiation says second appointment because we want to build rapport. We want to build a connection with sellers when we're working with them. So communication for us is just that. It is communication. We follow a series of frameworks that helps us get to the what we call the pain train to figure out, is there something we can solve. But we never make an offer on that first call. That's on the research call. So we want that second appointment. We want to be able to go out to that property and start that negotiations, or in some cases, make that second phone call. Because you'll learn the more points of contact I have with the seller, the more they start to trust me, like me, and drop their guard. And so, we combat. When someone says, well, someone made me an offer. Well, did they see the property? No. Well, then they're probably not going to buy it. And so we're saying, hey, look, we're here. We're boots on the ground. We know this area. So let me just lay this 9-part out for you. So and remember, I've got all this for you. I'm going to give it to you for free. There's videos and ebooks and all that for you. But it's team building. Obviously, that's the founding market segmentation. But when you move into lead intake, it's learning all the different ways of marketing. It's learning, like, when you're first starting out, you should focus on free leads. Then you should focus on outbound and inbound. Yeah, do the lead quality get better when we start getting into more paid leads? Absolutely, it does. But there's no reason for you to practice your communication skills on a $150 lead that came in that you don't even know how to move that lead into a negotiating stage. And so it's better to just work on free leads first. Learn your frameworks, learn your communication skills, and learn the objections that these sellers are going to throw at you all the time. And how do you get better at that so that you can research, analyze, negotiate a deal, convert it, and make money? Now, once we've pulled that off and we've made money, well, now we can take some of that money and dump it back into marketing. Now it becomes a self-liquidating business, right? So the business is paying for itself at this point. And so I want to talk to you about something that we teach called the 5-step bracketing. And this is important. I think this is why we have such a high success with our contracts to close ratio, because there's the communication framework and there's 5 steps there, and then there's research and analyze, and then there's the negotiating, which is what this is. These are the 5 frameworks that we lead a seller on that second call or that second appointment where we're going to their house. We reestablish the rapport with them. Hey, look, it was great talking to you the other day. I had some time to analyze your house. Hey, how's your kids? Great. I appreciate the time today. We move them into showing how we're going to solve the problem. Because remember, we do not work with sellers that don't have problems. We just don't. If they're like, no, I don't have a problem. I don't care if it sells or not. Well, hey, listen, I'll refer you to my agent and hopefully they can take care of you. I'm only hyper focused on sellers who have problems. And that's what that first call is all about, is to uncover if there's a problem. And a problem is a lot of things. It could be they live out of state, they inherited a property, they could be back on taxes, they could be in foreclosure, it could be distressed, it could be inherited, it could be a hoarder home, like you name it. It could be fire, flood, damage, you name it. There's lots of problems that we're trying to figure out, can we solve it? And once we know we can solve it, well, that's when we go to the second appointment, because we're letting them know how we're going to solve that problem. Now, the third thing you have to be clear on before we ever get to making an offer is we have to show the facts. And write this down, please. I learned this years ago. The person with the most facts at the negotiating table will always win. And you have to be prepared when you're going there. This is why research and analyze is in between communicate and negotiate, because I'm gathering all the facts. Here's something else I'll let you understand too. In my 2+ decades in this business, sellers don't believe anything you say. You have to show them facts, and then you have to agree with them. Hear me when I just said that to you. I can't go to that seller and say, hey, you to get what you want, you've got to update this kitchen. The seller's going to be like, no, it's fine. I've lived in it for 20 years. It works perfect. They're going to rebuttal and argue with you. Instead, what I can do is I can show them facts. I can say, hey, look, here's John's house down the street that sold for what you're looking for. And let me ask you a question. Does your kitchen look like his? And as soon as they say, "Ooh, no," I immediately agree. I agree. I agree it doesn't. And then I move right on to the next thing. Hey, I just wanted to show you what they did to their bathroom, and they got the same price that you were looking for. Does your bathroom look like this? Oh, no. I agree. See, the point to that is I got to get on their side, and I can't do that by making statements. I got to do that by demonstrating facts, because now I got to get them to open up to the concept that, oh, yes, if I want this 300,000, I'm probably going to have to make my house look like John's down the road. From there, that's when I can take them into what's called a net equity worksheet. This is where I can demonstrate to them what it's actually going to look like if they want the price they want, what they're going to have to do, what are the resale prices, what's the commission going to look like, what's taxes going to look like, what's the cost to get it up to grade to meet John's house that they thought they were going to get, what's all that actually look like, and what's the whole time to do that. This is, guys, I'm telling you right now, this is like the magic sauce. You can't just go to a seller and say, oh, you want 300, I'll give you 200. They have no understanding why. They don't even understand why. And if you say, oh, but you're going to have closing fees and all that, they don't understand that neither. You have to literally educate them on what that process looks like and why they're not getting 300,000 even if they sold it on the open market. And that's what the net equity does. So the net equity breaks all that down in a document that they can look at and be like, "Oh, I didn't think about that. Oh, I didn't realize that." And yeah, so at the end of the day, even if you sold it, on your own and got an agent and dealt with contractors and put all this work in it and paid the 40 extra thousand to get it up to what John's house looked like so you can get the 300, after everything's said and you pay yourself back and all the whole time, you're really only walking out of this for about 210, 215. And that's when we can give them the bracketing method. That's when we can actually say, look, you can either wait 6 to 7 months to get 215, or I can pay you 200 now. And so it's important that you understand, like, we never, and bracketing is not 200. Like when we do bracketing, we say it like this, and this will help you. We say, well, look, you could go 6 to 7 months and hopefully the market holds its value and stays the same and you'll end up netting 215. Or I could buy it today from you for 190 to 205. That's a bracketing, right? And then all I do is I just stop talking. I'm listening for two things, and it'll happen every single time. Every single time. I've proven this 100 times with students and myself. They'll come back and say one of two things. Number one, they'll say, there's no way I'm taking 205 because that was the high end of my bracketing. I say, hey, no problem. If I can go back, rework some of my numbers and get my offer a little higher than that, would you like me to submit that? Yes, go ahead. No problem. The point to that is I got their approval to send the offer. I got their approval to send it, not just me send it and hold up a blindfold and hopefully they saw it. They're expecting it and they already know my position. Or they'll say the second thing, there's no way I'm taking 195, which is the low end of the bracket. And I simply say, hey, no problem. If I can get us closer to the 205, would you like me to send that offer? Yeah, go ahead and send that. So now I already know. This is why our conversion to offer to acceptance is so much higher, because we're leading them through this discovery period and this awareness period of what it would really take, what it would require. And there's a lot more to it, and I don't have the time. But there's a lot more to this on the psychological side of things that you have to understand. But I just wanted to throw this slide in there so that you understood how important these frameworks are in your business and why you need to slow down and learn these frameworks. So pillar number three, contracts to close. This is where a lot of people freeze, honestly. They get a contract and they're like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Like, oh my goodness, they accepted my offer. Yay! Right? But contract to close, a lot of people just don't, they just, I don't know why, but they freeze here because they don't understand all the different processes. And so there's 5 key elements inside of this. Number one, let me explain something to you. Why investors freeze? There's 2 reasons investors freeze when it comes time to contracts. Number one is they're afraid to even get it under contract because they don't know where their money's coming from. So they freeze. They're like, well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Where's my money coming from? Which simply says what? They didn't focus on foundation, pillar number one. Number two, the reason that they freeze is because of safety. They're like, well, I don't know. And that's because they didn't put enough time into pillar number two, learning how to analyze deals, learning what market it is from pillar one, and that it is the right thing. And then there's obviously these 4 steps to close that you have to get clear on, like how does escrow get notified? When do you open escrow? Why you should open escrow? And then you got to get your funds ready. It's like, it's not like it's just this magical thing. You got to keep calling these lenders and making sure that they're going to fund on time and fund when you need it fund. And I don't have time today, but there are 9 steps, and I believe this is in the ebook that you guys can get at the end. There's 9 steps to the process that you need to follow every time you get a property under contract. There's frameworks everywhere. And then the converting, which is, you got to remember, this is your business. It's nobody else's business. And it is up to you to follow up with everybody. You follow up with the agent. You follow up with the wholesaler. You follow up with the funder. You follow up with the closing attorney. You follow up with everybody involved, making sure that everything's moving forward correctly, timely, and efficiently. Because when something goes wrong, you can't be the type that says, oh, well, they didn't do their job. Well, no, this is your business. This is your profits. This is your life. Like, you be responsible. You be responsible for that. Okay. And so then it leads us into investing strategies. So before I move forward, there's that link again, Local Investor Club. So you're more than welcome to go over there, get all my free stuff as much as you want. If anything, I think you will absolutely love the ebook. It breaks down my journey, how I ended up coming up with these 4 pillars, why it's so important. And then there's video modules that go along with it that you can watch along the way. But you'll notice I didn't spend any of the first 25 minutes with you on investing strategies. It was just the core of the business. I believe this is why we have so many students that keep coming back to the club, even coaching students that have graduated, they keep coming back because of how successful we've made them, turning them from just being a real estate investor to a real estate entrepreneur. And that's the key here, right? Like, we're entrepreneurs. We're not investors. We're entrepreneurs. Yeah, investing is what we do, but we're entrepreneurs. And an entrepreneur understands, like, I'm building a business here, and that's what you got to slow down and do. But the four main core investing strategies, and let me say this, there's not one investing strategy that you can't tell me that I can't put into one of these four cores, okay? Number one is quick cash strategies. So this is, a lot of people want to start in wholesaling, which is what this is, because they don't think they can do others, and typically that's just lack of specialized knowledge. And if I have a little bit of time with them, I can kind of correct that. But wholesaling is always an exit strategy for us in our community. It's never a primary strategy. Primary strategies are like rehabbing, rentals, things like that. But if anything pops up that we don't want, or we don't like, or we don't like the market, or the timing's not right, then we wholesale it out. It's a secondary strategy. But inside quick cash strategies, you've got everything from traditional wholesaling, co-wholesaling, option wholesaling, REO wholesaling, commercial wholesaling, novations. The list goes on and on. Wholesaling to retail buyers, all of those fit under that quick cash strategy. Then we move into the second bucket, which is creative financing. Now, this is a world in its own. I love creative financing. It's probably been one of the greatest things I ever spent time and years studying, because I have put together some massive deals that would shock most people with some of the things I've structured. But that's where I thrive. I thrive at the creativity. Now, I want to help you understand this. And so imagine a huge umbrella. And so you got this massive umbrella called creative financing. Under that umbrella, you've got all the different ways to do creative financing, from lease options to sandwich lease options to sub twos to wrap to contract for deed, land installment agreements. Oh man, the list goes on and on and on, right? What I want you to understand is don't let that spook you. All those different ways to do creative financing all have the same outcome. We're controlling something without using a bank to create something. Okay. Now, when and how we use each of those strategies will determine on the seller situation and how flexible the seller is, right? So, not to get too crazy with this, but let's say the seller has no desire to give me the deed, which is a sub two, and they have a mortgage on the property. Well, I'm going to go lease option, or I might do a wrap with them. But let's say the seller owns it free and clear. I'm not going to do a sub two. I'm going to go do a contract for deed, which is state approved. It allows me to take the deed, and now I can go and make installment agreements outside of that. So there's all these different ways for the outcome, which is all we're doing is we're being creative, and we're moving money to make money there again. Okay. Now, the bucket three by far is probably my favorite bucket, and it's the one that I stress on my students more than anything, because fix and flip is really where money gets made. Wholesaling, money can be made, but you got to build a big business from it. You got to like really ramp it up, get acquisitions people, put a ton of money into marketing to get that thing to producing, multiple deals a month. Because a lot of wholesale fees in our market, the average wholesale fee is $10,000 to $15,000. So it requires us to do 10 of those to make $150,000 a year. Versus fix and flip, my average student right now is making about $34,000 per flip. So if I get them to just do 5 a year, well, they've hit the 150 mark. So my point to you is it's bigger money with less headaches and less overhead. But most people won't start there just because they don't have the principles, or they don't know where the money's coming from, or how to manage contractors. List of things. Now, if you guys want to write this down if you're watching this. But in April, we hold once a year a 3-day boot camp, and it's called Find and Flip Workshop. If you have any interest in that, you can go to joinour3dayevent.com. Not that that's, I'm just saying if you do, go check it out. If not, stick with all the free stuff I'm giving you today. So that's number 3 bucket. Now, anything can fall under this. You could be fix and flip for small houses. You could be doing hotels where you're buying them, putting a little work into them, putting them right back on the market. You could be doing high-end luxury fix and flips. You could also be doing commercial fix and flip. You could be doing warehouse, light industrial fix and flip. That's my point. It doesn't matter what strategy you say, it fits in one of these. Then the 4th bucket, which is the main bucket that we're trying to build towards, is long-term wealth. And long-term wealth is a massive umbrella. I mean, it is a massive umbrella. It encompasses everything from little single families to large single families, duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, small apartments, large apartments, Airbnb, timeshare, like you name it, anything that produces cash flow goes underneath there. Apartments, light industrial, light industrial areas, mobile home parks, everything else that produces cash flow, small or big, falls under this bucket. So I share these principles of smart investing with you to say this. It's not just one. Each one of these buckets produce a massive amount of understanding and clarity on, well, what do I want to specialize in under that bucket? What do I want to work on under that bucket? And so this is why we teach everybody, hey, let's build the business first, then we're going to dig into the investing strategies. And so that's ultimately why years and years ago, I started putting this 4 pillars to investing together and said, look, here's what I know. If people will follow these principles, they'll have clarity. They'll remove risk. They'll remove anxiety. They'll have confidence because they'll know how things move and how they process and how they work. And then they don't have to feel pressured about the investing strategy. They can now just have a business that operates and then pick the investing strategy for, like myself, that works best for the seller and the time of the market. So guys, that is what it breaks down to. And I think that if you really dig into this and if you paid attention, you'll probably see my theology is a little bit different. A lot of people start on the back first. Oh, let's figure out your investing strategy and then build everything around that. I don't do that. I haven't done that in over a decade. I don't teach my students that. And nor would I ever teach anybody that. So, but anyways, here's what I'm going to tell you. With the right support and the willingness not to quit and the ability to stay focused, you'll succeed. Just make sure you have a roadmap with the right framework. That's it, guys. That is literally the key there. So that's what I got for you today. Hopefully you got some value out of this short video that we spent time together. That's what you'll get. Go to localinvestorclub.com. You'll get the 4 pillars training. You'll get our ebook, an action plan, and a bunch of resources to help you get off the gate and going. So, Mr. Brian.
Zach, you're awesome, man. Thank you so much for sharing all this with us. A lot of great information. I know I usually open up for Q&A right now. There aren't really any questions, but except for maybe some I might have. And I guess I just wanted to, maybe reiterate a little bit, or do I have this on the right view? Reiterate that, getting started. I love how you just kind of laid everything out, like from a foundational standpoint, that it's not just, hey, let's just go start making offers. Let's just go start like trying to do a deal, or even like the marketing piece that really resonated with me, because I consider myself to be more of a marketer than anything, is there's so many different ways to get free leads when you start out. There's no reason whatsoever to sit here and dump a bunch of money. I know folks teaching, hey, let's go, unless you have $1,000 or $2,000 a month to dump into leads, don't even, don't even get started. Don't even come with me. I'm not even going to coach you. It's so ridiculous. And I think, a mutual friend of ours one time said that, well, in the beginning you suck, right? In the beginning, you just don't even know what to say. Why would you sit here and spend all this money on leads when you don't even know how to negotiate? You don't know how to talk to a seller. You don't know how to do any of these things. So I really don't
Brian,
even
to
have
your
to.
point, my average coaching student within the first 60 days has a deal, and it's all from free leads. Every bit of them.
There's so many different ways to get free leads.
Yeah. Now, and I want to be clear for anyone who listens to this, because you're going to hear someone, oh, you can't really grow with that. Listen, that's not what we're talking about here. We're just saying, hey, how do you get started? Now, look, you can't build a business of doing 10 deals a month just on free leads. You have to get into paid then. But to your point, Brian, and to my point, to clarify, when you're first starting out, you're not trying to do 10 deals a month. You're just trying to do your first deal or your second deal. Well, that's where these free leads and frameworks come in.
Yeah.
So.
No, I love it. Guys, go to localinvestorclub.com, and I've got all the other resources that Zach just laid out. Is so generous to kind of give away. I'm going to put it all in the description of the video. So if you're watching this on a replay, great. Make sure you go into the description right now and check it out. Zach, we're appreciative of you for doing that. And then, guys, don't forget to stay tuned on First of all, it's every Monday, 11 a.m. Central Time from 11 to about 12. We do some sort of live training with a real estate expert like Zach. Next Monday, my good friend, again, this is our mutual. We have such a great, we have awesome mutual friends. So many great people in this business.
Coming on next Monday.
Chris Chico is going to be teaching us how
Oh
to.
my God.
Chris Chico is going to be teaching us about how to wholesale from anywhere. I love
I
Chris.
first learned from Chris many, 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 many moons ago.
Chris is a great mutual friend, and then the week after that, on March 24th, we got Tom Kroll speaking to us. So
Oh man, another buddy of mine.
yeah,
That's
so we've
awesome.
got just such an awesome lineup, and then we've got the next five actually
That's
already
great.
ready to go. So again, 11 a.m. Central Time every single Monday. Join us either live on YouTube, or if you want to actually join us and be in the Zoom with us, so you can get on the Zoom chat and actually chat with these people live. Just shoot me a message. Just let me know, and we'll let you in. You find me anywhere. Shoot me a DM. Shoot me an email, and we'll let you in. But Zach, again, thank
Doing
you
some
so
great
much.
things here, Brian. I know the community will appreciate what you're doing, man.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you. And then, guys, also, I forgot to even mention this. Tomorrow, if you're watching this on Monday, March the 10th, tomorrow, a brand new video comes out on our YouTube channel featuring Zack Childress, where we actually dig into the Huntsville market and we dig into we get into a little bit more specifics about how to get started. And then once you're already kind of in real estate, what should you do next? What should you, we talk about some of these different strategies as well. So,
We
Zach,
did that up here at this building. So you guys get to see my little podcast room. So you should go watch that.
be awesome. Zach, thank you again. We love you guys. We're going to see y'all very, very soon.